Hello and welcome to another episode of ohmTown on Twitch. I hope that you had a good weekend. Today is January 31st, 2022. It's already the end of January. Time is flying by, even for 2022. It's almost like 2022 is running as fast as it possibly can from 2021, hoping to get away. But somehow I think it's going to be kind of a it follows kind of thing. We shall see. So I'm Mayor Watt, and I'm the mayor of ohmTown. And ohmTown is a news aggregation site that gathers news from various resources, various publishers, and takes a little snippet so that we can talk about them both here on Twitch and on ohmTown.com, which is right there. Yeah, I'm getting it down, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to be smoother about this, but I'm a train wreck hot mess, and I might end up coughing because the air in my office is very dry. Just leading into this. At any rate, if you don't hear the music, it's very subtle. And if you do hear the music, let me know either in chat or in some message somewhere. It's not going to get me a copyright strike because it's all licensed, but let's get into this. It's been an interesting day, and we'll see how this Monday progresses into the evening, and then Tuesday. We've had a couple of bombshell things happen. It's quite fascinating. It's mergers and acquisitions year, I guess, with Electronic Arts acquisition and now others. I'll just drop that out there. And I'm actually listening to, or I was listening to, a Twitch channel called Quest Authority, where they talk about legal proceedings. Thought it was interesting enough to actually listen to it all the way up until my show started. Unfortunately, they're still talking 2 hours into this, and I had to stop, but you might want to check them out. That said, ohmTown actually aggregates news outside of Twitch, but if Twitch were involved in some news making, then I would probably pull them into ohmTown as well. Which has happened actually in the past, but prior to me doing this show every day at 6 o'clock. My aggregator funnels all of the information into these 6 categories that you see at the top that I'm scrolling across here on the stream. Create, news, education, entertainment, social, and technology. Technology is the biggest of them, at least for now. There are other things that I'm working on that I'd like to expand and break out another topic and have one each week. I started the process of doing a single show on a single topic. Today's is the create or creator or maker category. And there wasn't really a lot that like drove up the news. But every time you click on the front page of ohmTown, you get some more news. And if you click onto the categories, you'll get news within a particular domain. And it's somewhat self-representative there, you know. You click on create and you're going to get maker kind of things. Although some might need explaining in its context as to why it's there. But this came on not too long ago, and I'm actually going to click that because I want to see it. And we'll start with that, and we'll just keep on rolling through this. I do this in about an hour. I sometimes run long if I get up on a soapbox, or I try to give additional context than the simple observation of what the news is, drawing attention to the news across a broad spectrum of topics. So it's really a light overview, and then if people start showing up and having discussion with me in chat, which has happened in the past but not lately, we can always diverge from the standard me rifling through all this news, and we can talk a little deeper about some content. Yeah, the first discussion on here is governors lament existential threat of partisanship in Washington. That's been brewing for, well, as long as it's existed. It's only gotten just overt and horrible in the last, I'd say, 15 years. Anyway, on with this show. So this first article is actually pulled into Marvel, and it comes from the New York Times, or The Hill. The Hill is reporting that New York Times has acquired Wordle. And if you've not heard of Wordle, it's basically a 5x5 grid, and you have to guess the word in a vacuum. You are not given anything, no leads, no hints, no nothing. How this has gotten traction is, I guess everybody, a lot of us need something to do, something that stimulates our brain, and guessing a 5-character word out of a vacuum seems to be quite empowering for some of us. And I've played it, and to me, you're either hitting a brick wall or you're nailing it pretty darn quick. But it's neat. It's simple. It doesn't take a lot of time. You kind of get in, get out. It's the fast food of puzzle games, word games. And it's made by Josh Wardle, who created Wordle, which is just an awesome play off of that name. So kudos. We'll click the link so that you can go to The Hill. My aggregator only grabs a small amount, so I don't go through the whole article. But there had been somebody showing up on Twitter that was spoiling it. And that account actually got taken down as far as I recall. And of course, it's going to be sold for an undisclosed price, but it says in the low 7 figures. Oh, I have made some wrong choices. Okay, so I tell a lot of people a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. And, I should say it's less than what some streamers are seeing every day in their channel. But I don't do this in my channel when I'm talking about it. But I tell a lot of people, a lot is subjective. Go into programming, learn how to program, even something as relatively simple, which can be extremely complex, but starts out simple as Python. Python is pretty simple to understand the basics of it. It can be extremely complex, but it is like the gateway to Java. And then Java is the gateway to pretty much every other language. If you get Java down pat, then you can get a whole lot of others. Even Python, you can be prepared for a lot of other programming languages. But my point is, if you can program, you can pretty much create, you can embody the dreams of so many people who want a piece of software made. I've got about 6 apps that I want to continue development of. 2 of them have been put on the App Store, but have been deactivated because they need to be updated, and I can't do it. It's just beyond me. I don't have the time. I don't have the patience. But if programming clicks for you, if it resonates with you, if it speaks to you, stick to it. You will easily be making 6 digits. All you have to do is find something that you want solved that nobody else has solved, or provide it as a service in a way that is more valuable to somebody else, to a competitor. And that's basically the key to entrepreneurship. Do what you do it well, do it with passion, and do it with personality and an openness to interact with your clients, and not just for the scratch. And you'll have customers knocking at your door. If you are good at it, people can can feel it in the air. So develop those software development engineering skills. And if you hate math, then I'm really sorry, but the higher level, higher strata of programming takes a lot of math. This next article comes from ABC News, and it is touting that Moderna announces full U.S. approval for its COVID-19 vaccine. That is not a shock to anybody who's paying attention. I'll click the link so that you can actually see the article. Matthew Perrone is the one that wrote the article for ABC News. Let me back up and name the people that are doing this one over here. Rachel Scully over at The Hill is writing about a New York Times acquiring Wordle. But that vaccine, there was no, I wouldn't suggest that there was going to be a problem with it being fully approved. Basically, so many people and so much data has been acquired. So many people got the vaccine, and so many data points have been pulled into analysis that something bad would have been discovered, both through the back end channels of people talking about it from hospital to hospital. Nothing takes place in a vacuum. And then it would, if something bad was happening, then the whole internet would be abuzz. But there isn't anything major coming out of Moderna's vaccine, other than maybe I'm picking up Microsoft Radio, right? That's one of the things that's going on. That it's supposed to be giving me a radio tracker, but what I do for a living, that's not taking place. I just have to chuckle at the claim that it is something more than a vaccine. It is a vaccine. Anyway, I'm going to leave it right there, but nobody's surprised that Moderna, and if you are an early investor in Moderna, then you are reaping the rewards. But I'm going to continue on with the show and keep on trucking. So the Fed's George calls for sharp reduction in size of bank's $8.9 trillion balance sheet. So the chief of the Kansas City Federal Reserve on Monday said the U.S. central bank should raise interest rates soon and move promptly to pursue a, quote, significant, end quote, reduction in its nearly $9 trillion stockpile of bonds. I'm going to click this link. It takes you over to Market Watch. If you're on ohmTown and you click on any link that says take you to the source, then that's what it's going to do. It's going to visit the source, and you can read the whole article and then come on back and talk shop or throw something in chat. I would love to hear from you or read from you. I guess that's the right phrase. So unless there is a history of somebody running out saying, we need to lower this, I always suspect, maybe it's cynical, maybe it isn't a good vibes kind of a statement, but I'm always troubled by somebody just popping up out of the woodwork and demanding that suddenly the status quo of raising the amount of money in the system year after year, decade after decade, is suddenly you have to raise the rates, you have to implement some future crushing policy circa the 1970s, early 80s, to claw it all back. But we got here because of spending exorbitant amounts of money in bailouts on massive amounts of infrastructure. And most, I would say, think that they didn't see one single penny of it. But the economy has continued on, and those with massive amounts of money got the money back that may have been lost. And if you were on the outs with whatever organization, then, the people that are on the in of the social group, they got their money and they don't really give a rat's butt about you not getting yours. And that's the part of the business, society, technology, interaction, that society and ethic there becomes almost tangible when you see certain organizations benefit from a bailout, but other organizations not benefit from the bailout. And then there's a metric ton of equivocation about, well, those organizations that got a bailout helped all of those. And it harkens back to trickle-down economics, which really just reeks of somebody peeing on everybody else. And it to me, it's rather disgusting. So, help more middle class is really what the message should be, but that's not what's happening. So we are all going to see higher rates, and the people who can't handle those higher rates are going to suffer the most. And the middle is going to get squeezed even just as much. And those who have, in the upper 1%, they're going to skim by untouched. Other than have to wince that they're losing a fraction of 1% of their wealth and value. And we can get more into this policy, or this perception of growth. If somebody wants to chime in about it in chat, or come after, if they see a VOD, then come and talk to me about it. That'd be great. My chat is actually open 24/7. So if you come into the ohmTown on Twitch channel, you could actually leave a message in chat, and I'm sitting, I won't be sitting there, but it is always sitting there and I will see it. So you can always send me a message, even when it falls off the screen when somebody else comes in later. I still see it. So there's a lot here to unpack. So go over to Market Watch and read that article about the chief of the Kansas City Federal Reserve. And there are several Federal Reserves. They say it's fundamentally sound and should expand at a healthy pace in 2022, but that it's a 40-year high. And when I think about it, golly, that kind of falls in line with what I was saying, that it's late 70s, early 80s. And this, I witnessed this as a kid, and it didn't dawn on me. And I ended up talking to people that were adults at that time when I was just a kid. And they're like, prepare yourself. And there's no easy way to prepare yourself once it's already in action. Anyway, let's continue on. Another aspect of social here is because, again, let me just reiterate what I talk about, and it's a broad spectrum of topics. But what I merge together is business, society, and technology. And it becomes a somewhat cogent framework of presentation. But it might look like it's chaotic. And in this particular instance, it becomes insightful, because insightful as in it might trigger you. It might upset you. Because you may not agree, or if you do agree, then you're bothered by this. And if you don't agree, I'm curious as to why you wouldn't agree with my perspective of this. But so if you don't know what HBCUs are, let me click the link here, and suddenly it will all be clear as to what doesn't seem to make any sense. Why people are like this, why people act out like this, why people have zero coping skills, or Let me pause this. So 6 HBCUs received bomb threats on Monday, and it's the second time this month that they were targeted with bomb threats. So what is an HBCU? Historically Black University and College. They flip it, university and college. So these colleges suddenly receive bomb threats, and it makes you wonder why this happens. Why is it that a historically Black college gets targeted? It isn't because everybody sees everybody else as a human being. They do this because they see a historically Black college as being something that's educating and empowering, and somebody doesn't want that to happen. Shocker. You know why they don't want that to happen? Because educated people make educated decisions. They make rational decisions unless they are sociopathic to begin with. Or radicalized. You don't make bomb threats if you are on a level keel, if you have coping skills. And you can't tell me that anybody who's making bomb threats doesn't have the opportunity to better themselves in a humane way without having to blow up a college or a person. There's plenty of opportunity still in the United States if you come from a particular sector of society. But not everybody is equal as a human being, but not everybody has equal opportunity. And this is demonstrable. Yeah, research has proven it. You can measure it based on the economics of regions within society. And it isn't because, those people. It is because of historical context, and this context matters. And it's a phrase that you'll keep hearing me say. Context matters so much in society. And there's a lot of off the hip kind of, snapshot kind of responses to things that somebody says, instead of actually inquiring and having a deep and meaningful conversation. They think that a pithy tweet is good enough to embody everything that somebody might be saying. And therein lies the rub with other news that we will end up probably talking about once we go on through this. But this is not the work of a rational person. And whoever might know about why this is taking place, right? Who it is, where it is, why it's coming. Somebody more than that one person knows that they are doing this. Go and report them. Do humanity a solid and turn them in. I mean, this is absurd. This is absurd. So anyway, a bomb threat is just a bomb threat until it's acted on. So let's hope that all it is a threat. And if somebody is actually doing something, that they get caught, and they get caught before they cause any great harm. And on the lighter side of things, because I don't frame these in any particular flow. It is as chaotic as the news is. It is as chaotic as society is. This next thing is coming out of the continuity report, which is all about movies. I've always been a fan of Hocus Pocus, even though it says certain things at a certain time, and it's a kid's movie where I have to turn to a child and they're asking me questions, and I have to explain to them, basically adult, concepts. And it shows up on a website called Common Sense Media as well as being an issue. And feel free to check out that website too, Common Sense Media. Just do a Google search for it and you'll find it. But I don't treat it as the only source of information. I'll actually watch the movie, and then I'll decide if I want my kid to watch that as well, or other children if they're visiting. And really, when it comes down to it, it's conversation between parents and other parents if their kid is going to be allowed to watch this type of a movie. Well, anyway, they're they're releasing Hocus Pocus 2, which was announced last year, but they're actually going to move forward with it. This is an article out of Variety, and it's the same people playing the same sisters, and it's apparently wrapped, and it'll be out on Disney Plus on Halloween. So perfect. So I hope it's great. Sometimes the follow-up just doesn't quite ratchet it up the same way that the original does, but check it out. And now you know that it's coming on Disney Plus on Halloween. Hocus Pocus 2. Welcome back, Sanderson sisters. Okay, so this next article is over on Wanted. It is a group that talks about tech that we want, or items that we want. I haven't aggregated anything yet that has to do with this other thing that I want, and we'll talk about it at the end. Maybe I can. I can't really even bring it up here, but anyway, a 500 hertz PC monitor prototype. And it's being talked about over on Ars Technica. You click the link and you go there and you can check it all out. Chinese panel maker claims to surpass 360 hertz with enhanced thin film transistor tech. I wonder how hot this thing gets with that amount of energy flowing through it. I wonder how hot this thing is going to be, but we'll see. Does it even say anything in here? Product quality improvement and energy consumption reduction has become an inevitable trend in technology and market development. It says it reduces power consumption, huh? Okay, the display panel maker is reportedly able to use oxide TFT LCDs to fight bright spots, increase panel reliability, reduce power consumption by as much as 15%. Interesting. A 13.3 inch 4K. I guess we'll see what happens. This is a 27 inch FHD at 500 hertz. Plus, it says. Wow. Won't play the video. I want you to go over there. You can click on it and watch the video. It's over on arstechnica.com. And the article says once you go from 60 to 144 hertz, it's hard to go back. And really, some people realize it. Some people see it. Most people don't even care. Going faster, what it is it allows you to see more data in a given moment, and thus your perceptions of what is going on is enhanced. And this has actually been proven through research with people like professional gamers and fighter pilots. I've mentioned this before in the past about those two, but doctors as well benefit from this higher frequency. Anybody whose visual acuity needs to be amped up, you can actually train yourself to see more data, and you do it by using a higher refresh rate. And then it translates into everything. Apparently, and age plays a role in it as well. So anyway, go over to Ars Technica and read this article. If it becomes the standard, then I'm all for it. Anything that makes tech better. So this next article is over at Law Nerd, and a lawyer in Hamden, Connecticut has been disbarred by a judge who said that she made empty and malicious claims. I'm gonna click this link, and it's over at ABA Journal, and that basically this attorney was disbarred because they said that a different judge favored Jewish litigants and protected the sexual abuse of children. And you just can't make these claims, particularly publicly and without any evidence. And you would go to the DA and let them know. That's kind of how it works. If you have evidence, you could go to the police and they can act on it to protect the children. And the judge would be unseated because of that level of bias, right? Regardless of if it's Jewish litigants or not. But if there's evidence, then so be it. But if you don't have any evidence, then you just need to shut up. Yeah, I mean, you just can't say these things. It can ruin people's lives by making the claim alone. Particularly in the legal profession, but pretty much any field. If you make certain claims, particularly about bias or the abuse of children, you better come with a folder full of evidence, because anything short of that is going to end up having you investigated prior, because there's got to be a reason why you are coming forward without any evidence and just making the claim. Anyway, Kunha told the Journal Inquirer that she is shocked and embarrassed by the disbarment and she'll appeal. She told New Haven Register in a statement that she is being targeted for going public with the truth. Well, usually a whistleblower has some type of evidence, so I hope they have evidence. Otherwise, this is not going to end well, at least professionally. Yeah. So, yeah, and it's not unheard of. I mean, anybody can be disbarred for particular ethical concerns, whatever they might be. I mean, the most prevalent rationale for disbarment is the commingling of funds. So if merging some money can lead you to being disbarred, I guess impugning the integrity of the justice system without evidence is a good enough reason. But we'll see. It says, had asked Kunha to produce proof backing up her allegations of bias by Judge Gerard Adelman, according to the Hartford Courant. Let's see. Got the divorce case after Kunha sought to disqualify Adelman. Adelman represented the wife. During a hearing on her claims, Kunha talked about a Jewish conspiracy and said that she could prove her allegations with a list of cases. Asked to produce the list, Kunha acknowledged that she doesn't have one, according to the judge's opinion. Okay. Yeah. It's never good to state that you've got a list of cases and then they don't exist. So let's change tack again. In the Tabletop Knights group is Star Wars: The Old Republic teases Legacy of the Sith. There's a couple of things. Who was it? I think it was Origin. Had a Star Wars game that's free, and you can. Let me see if I can. I'll pull it up and see. Anyway, BioWare released a new teaser trailer for Star Wars: The Old Republic's upcoming expansion, Legacy of the Sith. You can go and check it out for yourself, but it's over at RP Gamer. And I won't click it. I wholeheartedly encourage you to go and get these games yourself. Let me see if it's here. Yeah, so Origin had Jedi Fallen Order free. And I'm not sure if it still is. Let me see if it's still free. No, I don't see it anymore, but definitely download the client and log in, create an account, and you can get free games from them and Electronic Arts and Prime and Epic and so many. Even GOG has a client, and you can get free games from various vendors throughout the year. Not all of them are, top tier games that'll keep you busy for hundreds of hours, but it's a free game, and it might be something that you've not played because you didn't necessarily want to spend $60 on it, but you can get it for free from these clients. So give it a shot. But definitely go over to RP Gamer and you can read more about this Legacy of the Sith. And it will be continuing the Star Wars evolution of software gaming. I hope that there's more MMO style games. I hope that there's an expansion into VR with greater energy, greater investment. And I really hope that there are more MMO technologies that are released that are wireless, like PC style. And I'm not talking about what's no longer called the Oculus Rift. After being told that it was going to be left alone, it's now, I believe, called the Meta instead of Oculus. But yeah, anyways, I don't have any news on that. Okay, the next one is China releases video of spacecraft orbiting Mars for Lunar New Year. It's in the Word and Tech. It comes from The Verge. When you click the link, you'll get taken over there. And I think this is neat. Video of a spacecraft orbiting Mars. And we take these steps periodically, reaching out further and further into space. Not to mention that there's a vehicle flying around with some dude in the driver's seat. And it's just a space suit. I hope it's not a real person sitting in there. But you never know. We'll find out in 50 years that there's actually a person out there. They're long gone, but still a human in far deep space. Anyway, I think that this is amazing, and best of luck to humankind. We need to get out there and benefit from our efforts together in the spirit of competition, but still helping each other out. But again, I'm kind of cynical. So I suspect that we won't really get together until aliens attack us. And then it'll be too late, but we will band together to fight them. Kind of like Independence Day. There's another article about this later on, the whole Joe Rogan thing. I tried to explain this to somebody last night. And really it comes down to a bunch of claims that are factually inaccurate. And as far as I know, they're factually inaccurate. And then this article popped up after a previous one. There's another one later on that I'll get to. But it says here on Mobile, Joe Rogan is finally kind of sort of apologizing for his podcast. Joe Rogan said Sunday night that he's going to work to balance the views represented on his Joe Rogan Experience podcast and describe the $100 million+ media product as an out of control juggernaut that I barely have control of. Well, out of control juggernaut and barely have control of are, it sounds about right. I'll just leave it there. With a growing boycott of Spotify led the platform to change its policies around COVID-19. So instead of blocking misinformation or downplaying it, or somewhere in the strata of decision making, the policy was changed. And as far as I know, the policy now says, hey, COVID-19 is a sensitive subject. And so there's going to be equivocation from Rogan, and I don't suggest anything less. That it's very hard for somebody to pivot a whole 100% and be authentic about it, because there may be I can't go into it. I mean, this is just it's shocking that people are looking at an entertainer as if that is the source of true factual information. And what really comes out is there's a little bit of truth and a whole lot of, what do you call it? Train wreck, and making statements like, I'm not trying to promote misinformation. I'm not trying to be controversial. I've never tried to do anything with this podcast other than just talk to people and have interesting conversations. But the problem is that when you have a massive platform and you speak on some topic and you give credibility, you give provenance to misinformation by highlighting it on something that is followed with, almost gluttonous style following. I've spoken to people who will go out of their way to engage in the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. Will not say anything negative in any way, shape, or form about that, but will downplay things like the vaccine, and all kinds of other things. But at any rate, you can't upset a whole lot of people all at once by going counter to what you've been doing for years and years. Anyway, this comes from Vice. Paul Blest is the writer of it. And, he's an entertainer, and he has these interviews with people, and that's it. And that's what it should be treated as. But there is no, you have to take it with a grain of salt and verify it with other facts. And it's a whole mantra in my line of work: trust but verify. You don't just accept what one person says. And definitely I'm not taking the word of an entertainer purely alone, just because somebody says something. Yeah, no way. But an investigation would need to take place if somebody makes a certain kind of claim. And there is a ton of information that says that everything that was being said about COVID was wrong. So on Joe Rogan Experience side. So the next article is Mobble, Understanding Who Commits Which Crimes. This is a sociology, a social context article. Why do some young men turn to crime while others don't? An international study shows that preferences such as risk tolerance, impatience, and altruism, as well as self-control, can predict who will commit a crime. And this article is over at phys.org. There's going to be a ton of information that you will end up going down the rabbit hole of, but I can tell you right from the start, the education levels and socioeconomic factors of convicted criminals can be compared to those of the general population relatively easily, but assessing people's risk tolerance, patience, and altruism is much more difficult. Education is the main indicator for delinquency. Yes, without a doubt. This is stuff that has been spoken about for years and years. When there's more studies that are done, it just reinforces it. The problem here is that the people that speak about this in a way that the problem is that there are people that speak about this as if there is a choice to be made. But that's not really how society works. At some point, a person runs out of options and they go into survival mode. And that survival mode may be embodied in committing a crime to get what they feel is needed, or to exert some type of control on their future. And when a person feels out of control, they basically break all social norms to satiate that need to gain control again. So don't be surprised when a person who is incapable of coping with not being heard, or not being able to get a job, or not being able to go out with somebody, when they don't have a means to cope, they don't have somebody to talk to cope, and they're not engaged in any mental health programs, they lash out. And one of them is delinquency. So education opens the door for opportunities. It typically is, the more education you have, the more money that you make. Obviously, there's a huge social element to it, that it's not what you know, it's who you know, but it's really a combination of both. I've seen people get jobs who, to me, are unqualified, but because they know somebody within the enterprise, they've been given a job, but they've been given a chance. And that is the bigger thing here. You may not be good or better than the person that should have been hired, but you were given a chance. And that chance was leveraged. It was converted on. You were given a chance and you made it happen, right? If you are that person. I won't name names, obviously. I don't know who all in the world this is happening with, but I have seen it firsthand. But plain and simple, you need education, you need opportunity. So go and read the rest of that article. And there's a bunch of other news that you will go down the rabbit hole. There's links on that page. Anyway, it's called Understanding Who Commits Which Crimes by the University of Zurich, and it's on phys.org. You can follow the link from the Mobile group on ohmTown.com, or just do a search for that title, Understanding Who Commits Which Crimes. Then come back to my chat and talk with me. That's what this is all about. Come and talk to me. So this next article is in the Warcrafters group. It's about the Warcrafters group is all about like first person shooters, RPGs, tabletop computer games, and real-time sims. And George R.R. Martin may be quote unquote shocked by how his Elden Ring lore has been twisted. And this article is over on PC Gamer. Again, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you all, but it says that he has made Martin's characters into inhuman monsters. Elden Ring game director Hidetaka Miyazaki has elaborated on just how much the team at From Software has changed and twisted George R.R. Martin's world building, which formed the overarching mythos for Elden Ring. So that's coming out. It's not out yet, is it? Hold on, let me. Oh, I'm gonna go and look at my Steam account. I think it's coming out right on the 1st. Oh, February 24th. There's another one coming out on the 1st, March 1st, actually. So I'm getting my wires crossed, but so Elden Ring's coming out on February 24th. And yeah, a lot of people are saying that it's basically Dark Souls. But whatever it is, it's in my wish list. So It has some great verticality. It has some great graphics. I'm not sure how ultimately well received it will be, but we will see. And I'm sure that many people will be streaming it here on Twitch. But go over and read the article, and you can decide for yourself how shocked it might be. I suppose George is still working really hard on his Game of Thrones books. So this is that other article that I was talking about previously about the Joe Rogan experience. So it's on Mobile. The article is actually from Vice.com, just like the other one was. And the title of this is why I clicked on it, because I saw a little snippet of it and read the title. Thanks to Joe Rogan, people forced to notice that Spotify sucks. I think it's kind of entertaining that somebody would make this snarky comment, but I'm going to click the link so that you can see who it is. It's Gita Jackson. And okay, so this is just a picture. If you are watching the VOD, this is just a picture of Joe Rogan with his neon sign behind him, the Joe Rogan Experience. But when I talk to people in person and now I'm doing it via Twitch, I think that there is a law in I guess you could probably extrapolate it to physics, but you cannot pause a video. You can take pictures of people pretty much at any time, but you can't pause a video without the person having some goofy look or mid action where when you look at it, you want to caption it a little different than more like an SNL skit, right? Like, here's a picture of Joe whistling, some song. I don't know. I'm on the spot here. So, and talking about Joe in any other way than respectfully, you're probably going to get slammed. But anyway, I hardly ever listen to the Joe Rogan Experience. And so it says, I'm doing this because Spotify is spreading fake information about vaccines, Young wrote in an open letter on his website, which has since been deleted. Please act on this immediately today and keep me informed of the time schedule. So Neil Young had pulled their songs. And others have since then, and people are talking about it. But this is like the standard social movement. Some will agree, some won't agree. Some people will put their enjoyment where their money is, right? So if they don't feel that this is something that they quote unquote buy into, then they'll just pull their funding. But people will be back. The way I see it is, you liked the service prior to this. It doesn't change the foundation of the service. It's one person talking sideways about another person, and that person's talking sideways about the facts. So a rational person can just put it aside, ignore Joe Rogan, ignore Neil Young, ignore Joni Mitchell, ignore Bette Midler, all of this stuff. None of these people will go and have a beer with you unless you probably pay a fee, and they'll donate your money to a good cause, and they'll claim that it's their money being given to a good cause when you could just donate it yourself and enjoy more beer, which is something that I'll get to here in a minute. A little article, but anyway, I might not be able to show it, but we'll see. We'll give it a chance. Maybe I'll just do it next show, because it's all tech, and it's part of one of the, it falls in line with the of the brew group. Anyway, so Another article, study uncovers first evidence of long-term directionality and origination of human mutation, challenging neo-Darwinism. Now, that is a mouthful. If you click the link, it'll take you over to this phys.org site page. And I had read a little bit about this somewhere else, and then my aggregator grabbed this University of Haifa article. And what they say basically is that there is a series of environmentally based, they don't call it evolutionary steps. In fact, they say that let me see if I can find the actual. We hypothesize that evolution is influenced by two sources of information: external information that is natural selection, and internal information that is accumulated in the genome through the generations and impacts the origination of mutations. Well, that part, that internal information that is accumulated in the genome through the generations and impacts the origination of mutations, that's adaptation. And adaptation in and of itself is natural selection, and natural selection is in and of itself evolution. So what happens is generation after generation, something occurs, right? The generation that has the genetic wobble that causes hands to have webbing makes that person or thing or whatever, it doesn't even matter what it is, makes it better at swimming. And so if that entity enters the water and survives longer than its land-based predecessors, and it has the ability to reproduce, creating offspring that have webbed fingers, guess what happens? It becomes an evolutionary step, not an adaptive step. Adaptation is just one instance of it, or a series of instances, and that series of instances leads to evolution. So if I am wrong, feel free to talk to me about it. But that is my understanding. There is adaptation and then there's evolution, and a series of adaptations is evolution. And I'm sure that I can find another article that talks about that specifically. But regardless, if you have a series of generational changes, you are literally talking about whatever it is evolution. It's Darwinism. It's the survival of the fittest. It's those genetic wobbles that lead to the longevity of that particular species. That's why we have branches, because it becomes so prevalent that they are differentiated from the other branch. So definitely go over and read this article and then come on back, and then you can come into my chat and talk with me if you are watching this VOD. I don't track who goes to the VOD, like how many people. I suspect not many. I am brand new, so please tell a friend. Drag them in here, kicking and screaming. That would be great. Tales of Arise is a new game. You should check it out. Bandai Namco has released an introduction animation for Tales of Arise. Game looks neat. I can't really go into it really because it's a video, but it was released on September 10th, 2021, I think it was, right? But it was released for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC on September 10th. But they released an introduction animation for Tales of Arise, promoting the game with a new video. So go and check it out. It's over on RPG Site. I'm all into world building, and they have a follow-on review, rpgsite.net, that speaks specifically about the Tales of Arise review. And that's really where I wanted you to end up going, because it goes into detail about what Tales of Arise is. But to me, the animation is much like Genshin Impact. But I haven't played this yet. So go and check it out. And if you do play it, then come back and talk to me about it. I kind of dig the graphics. So I can't play everything. I am not a full-time streamer. I would like to play games all my life, but not everybody can do it. So I'm going to have to hustle a little bit to get back on track. Sony, I found out this morning, Sony is buying Bungie for $3.6 billion. This comes on the heels of other mergers and acquisitions over the last month. And I think it's fascinating. So the Destiny franchise, I believe it is going to be pulled into Sony. Apparently it's going to be multi-platform still. It won't be siloed within the PlayStation infrastructure. If you click the link, PC Gamer again, and we will see what comes of this. Like many things, you can be told that it's going to be an independent subsidiary, but then suddenly everything changes. Usually because somebody does some efficiency evaluation and says we can save a couple $100 million by getting rid of this or that. And they have an ad that's teasing Warhammer, which still isn't where I want it to be as a computer game, but we shall see. Sword of Legends Online version 2 launches in February, adding the Firestone Legacy expansion while moving to a free-to-play model. There are a lot of games that are free-to-play, but then you have a storefront where you purchase things. I have not played Swords of Legends Online. If the animation is anything like that in the game, then I think that it's rather fascinating. They talk about a lot of stuff in this article, so I can't really go through it too much. But free-to-play models are engaging in that you can actually play quite a bit of the content without spending a single dime. But if you want to excel and keep up with friends who might have deeper pockets, then you'll end up having to spend because a computer game doesn't run for free. So particularly an MMO does not run for free. TV shows Cortana redesign for Halo. That's in Warcrafters. Halo fans are divided over the TV show's Cortana redesign. Even the game seems to, the new Halo game, Infinite, the Cortana seems different than previous iterations. It's more evolved, has a different graphic, different voice. And even then people were like, what? But anyway, this is a PC Gamer article as well. These last articles were all from that very first link, the creator category of ohmTown. And so they take you to sites like PC Gamer because this is all about world building. And if you're a writer or if you're an artist, that's what you do. You build the world around you, around your characters. And it's just a really neat thing. So you want to consume as much of that kind of content as possible for your own development opportunities. You see what other people do, and the good part that works for you, you want to emulate in your work and then evolve it and make it better than the person that inspired you, while still giving credit to those who inspire you. So when you win an award, you can sit there and say, oh yeah, I was a real big fan of the Cortana Halo TV series. But we will check it out. The trailer for the Halo TV series. If you want to see or talk about it or read it, go over to pcgamer.com. I'm not going to show it on the stream because I want you to go over there and then come back and talk to me. I'd like it if you would come onto the air and go up there. I'll put a little box up there and put your picture in there. Riot apologizes for DMCA takedown for artists on an artist for use of the word arcane. That's like a takedown for having the Ohio State, and you actually used the word the and not Ohio State. They wanted to trademark the in the Ohio State. That might be inflammatory in the way that the real context is that no, they wanted to copyright the entire or trademark the entire the Ohio State. But that's not how everybody talked about it. Anyway, so this article is also from PC Gamer. Wow, I'm highlighting PC Gamer quite a bit in this one. But don't worry, I'm not going to show everything. Molly Taylor is the writer for this. Riot apologizes for DMCA takedown on artist for use of the word arcane. But that's kind of the problem with trademarks. Either you defend it or you try and give the right context, and the knee-jerk reaction is to fire off a DMCA. It's a real bummer, all because there is somebody using the word arcane in a Netflix show. And the work has zero to do with it, apparently. So go over to Cuddy Sark for a t-shirt. Well, you'll have to go over and find that person. Their artwork got the DMCA takedown because it uses the word arcane. And it's just absurd. But they apologized. I think what needs to take place is there needs to be more human interaction from a level-headed person before a DMCA can even be leveraged. A DMCA should not be automated, not in any way, shape, or form. Not with music, not with video, not with art, not with writing. A DMCA should not be automated in any way, shape, or form. If a DMCA takedown is leveraged, then there better be a human that has reviewed it and flagged very specific areas that are triggering the DMCA. Naturally, if it's a wholesale DMCA takedown of a song because somebody has done it, then fine. Look at the context of it and see if it is something that is intentional, designed to cause harm, that doesn't in any way add value to the work, or even like somebody listening to music on Twitch. I think it's a weird thing for somebody to want to take it down, because while somebody's listening to it, they are also hyping it up. They're talking about it. And the people that are engaging in this discussion about the music while it's playing, or between plays, are adding value. And the people that are talking about it are there because of the presenter. Because let's say I'm playing the music and we're talking about it between tracks. There's value added discussion there, yet to listen to an entire song would lead to my VOD getting a DMCA strike. And after 3 of them, I lose my channel altogether. Kind of a bummer, right? All because it's automated. As far as I know, if there's a human involved, I have never been told that there's a human involved. So a couple more articles. Well, we can come back to this because copyright is one of the shows that I want to do is called Right Protect. Oh, where is it? Right Protect talks about trademark, copyright, patent, not as a legal advisory, but as a kind of prosumer perspective with business, society, tech, as the foundation perspective. But let's move on. I'm going to flip these. So we're going to do this one first. Artist uses AI to design terrifying faceless Bosh style tarot cards. You okay, hun? This is an article that comes from PC Gamer as well. And what you see here are some of the AI inspired, I guess, You could call it. They were developed by an AI as an art project. And then if you go over to the Super Composite Twitter account, you'll be able to see more of him. But what I really need you to do is go over to PC Gamer, click on the link from ohmTown if you do it that way. But you can always go straight over to PC Gamer and hunt down artist uses AI to design terrifying faceless tarot cards. And you'll see more of it. And on that site, you'll see Super Composite, who is apparently a musician and made these tarot card designs, which they are bizarre. But some tarot decks are bizarre. So it doesn't really surprise me. What does surprise me is this next article. It's found in the group Bead Baby, which talks about jewelry and findings for creating your own jewelry. And it's fart-inspired jewelry, Roland the Farter. And it even starts out with a zinger. You didn't misread that title. There are indeed jewelry designs which are inspired by flatulence. So I'm going to click this link because you're going to love it. So over on beatinggem.com is what looks like a leather. So it's just a black leather band, like necklace, right? With a what looks like a stainless steel loop, and then a white hammered metal piece, perhaps. And it's laying against a brown leather wedge of some kind. And it says, I'm taking this slow so people can soak it in. And that's actually a disgusting turn of phrase when you hear what I'm about to say. Best farter ever. Yeah. And there's a bunch of them apparently. So go and check it out, beatinggem.com, and do a search for fart-inspired jewelry. Yeah, I'm going to leave that right there. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I thought it was hilarious. And the dad joke in me said, you got to show the world this. So what do you think? Was today a good bunch of news from one end to the other? If you don't like certain bits, let me know. If you love certain bits, let me know. I'm going to race back to the very front page here so that I can take Best Farter off my desktop. And again, every time you click the link at ohmTown, it will refresh. And unless you do it super fast, it will have a bunch of new news. And it just continues on and on and on. So we got over 9,000 pages of content that you can review over the history of ohmTown in its current iteration. So feel free to stop by tomorrow and say hi, throw a message in chat. That would be really appreciated. Follow me. That would be even more appreciated. That's not really true. I really want people interacting with me in chat. I guess I just don't have a critical mass yet where people will engage, but I thank you for coming. The show typically runs from 6 p.m. Eastern to 7 p.m. Eastern, and it all depends on how fast I go through the news and how much or little jumping up on a soapbox I get. So I hope you got something out of it, and I'll see you next time.